Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin is hospitalized in critical condition this morning after collapsing on the field last night after what appeared to be a routine play.
Hamlin, who is 24 years old, received both CPR and AED on the field for over 9 minutes after experiencing the medical emergency just shy of 6 minutes into the first quarter. NFL officials initially temporarily suspended the game, which was played against the Cincinnati Bengals. However, after both teams and coaching staff left the field, the game was instead postponed. Lot to unpack here. Obviously, it was we're not showing the footage of him falling. It was pretty horrible to watch. He's still in critical condition. His agent, Jordan Rooney, says his vitals are back to normal. They have put him to sleep and he has a breathing tube down his throat. Currently running tests. So very, very serious situation. And I can't imagine how they could possibly continue to have played the game after that.
You might not be able to imagine it, Robby, but much of the controversy and discussion around this event has been the fact that apparently the initial call was to go ahead and play, and it was some combination of resistance from the players on both teams who presented a united front, along with the coaching staff, who said, no, the game is not going to go on. Apparently, when they were first dismissed to the locker room, players were told they had 5 minutes. And only because of the kind of solidarity shown on the field among the people who were actually playing the game was that decision changed. And a number of people, sports commentators got in a great deal of trouble, got a great deal of pushback for suggesting in the moment, at very least, and some of them later revised their opinion, but suggesting in the moment that because the game was such an important qualifying game, that it was necessary for the NFL to go on. Others made statements about how people have had similar kinds of physical events in the past, and the game played on. So what's
I mean, I think it possibly wasn't clear to all of these people how serious the situation. I mean, if someone breaks their leg, they're going to continue the game. If this is a life-threatening situation, maybe that wasn't clear to the people talking about it. I don't see how the players can be asked to play after someone they're close with who's on their team you saw from some of that footage we just played how distressed, and the players were crying, they're hugging, this is someone they care about who is in really bad shape. So that's different. So anyone suggesting it should go on after, it's different from someone breaking the leg, has to go to the hospital, etc.
The pressure for players to go on, even under the kind of conditions that you just described, breaking limbs and stuff, I think it has highlighted for folks concerns that are longstanding about the safety of the game. There was the quarterback earlier this year who suffered pretty significant injuries on the field, which were also difficult to watch. And that ignited a whole other conversation about whether or not the gameplay has to be as dangerous as it is, whether or not these players are being taken care of, or if they're being exploited kind of for maximum profits. And I don't think that conversation is going to go away anytime soon, especially in light of last night's events. But another aspect of the coverage of this has been that a number of people immediately afterward online started implying that the injury, the cardiac arrest, was a consequence of COVID vaccine. So there was a lot of argument about whether or not so-called anti-vaxxers are inappropriately exploiting the moment when there is no evidence that this was caused by anything COVID related, whether or not, and if it were, it could be caused, obviously, there's cardiac effects of having COVID, especially multiple times, as addition to cardio effects that can come from vaccinations in some instances, and that it was irresponsible for folks to try to kind of push that narrative as well.
I think it's absolutely irresponsible to. We don't know anything about that. Like, everyone just calm down. Let's not. Speculating is dangerous and unnecessary. We don't know if he had some kind of pre-existing condition. We don't even. Do we even? Presumably he's vaccinated, or there maybe is a requirement for the team, and that's why people know that he was. But I don't think that's even been discussed. And then whether they're connected to that or to COVID, it's just very irresponsible to speculate about that. I mean, he was. So he tackled a quarterback, and then
safety, I think.
And no, he's the safety. He tackled a quarterback, and then he dropped after he got up. He stood up, and then he dropped. The
receiver.
Yeah, the situation it didn't look like it was necessarily a hit out of the ordinary on football. But look, these are pretty rough circumstances. I mean, you talk about the head trauma is something people talk about a lot with what's going on in football, with concussions, that kind of thing. Look, this is clearly, being in these positions, being tackled, having blunt force trauma all the time we know that can have an effect on your health. That's not speculating. Now, whether that applies here, no idea. But that has been documented that can have a physical effect on you. There are people who have been really messed up from this. And look, it's at the NFL level, I'd say it's your choice. You should be aware of the risks. A lot of people in the NFL are very well compensated, some much more than others. And sure, conversations about fairness and what safety practices are being taken, and is there a way to make it safer for everyone? I think those conversations should absolutely take place. But again, it's your decision to play, knowing what the risks are. But that is something that people should talk about. So let's have that conversation, and then let's wait to hear about any. And look, I don't think it's not. We need to know what are the side effects of vaccines, and what are there actually more incidents of this kind of thing. I don't think anyone has actually presented evidence of that yet, but that is something that should be tracked and understood. And I understand people's hesitance about vaccines especially for younger, healthier, able-bodied people, when a lot of people in the scientific community are saying, and other countries are saying, that it's not vastly improving outcomes from COVID anyway. So why would it be required on anyone? But we got to be very careful here about speculating things we don't know about.
I think the point is that there's just nothing about the situation that demanded a vaccine discourse. What we know is that it was a football player who was involved in a play, stood up and fell back down after a couple of seconds. People have pushed back against showing the video of the actual hit, encouraging folks instead to show videos of him with family, videos of him doing this charity drive that raised thousands, tens of thousands, I think maybe even over $100,000 in the hours or so after this incident occurred. Another point just to note is that there was some discourse, some conversation about whether or not it was improper for CPR to have been administered on the field, but apparently that was the medical recommended advice. It was unusual. I think part of why there was a stoppage in this kind of emotional response from people in the stadium and viewers around the country was because of both the length of time he was on the field and the fact of having CPR administered. That kind of life reviving health aid isn't something that you typically see even among the most traumatic of injuries that happen on a field. So I think a lot of people were relieved to see that he had stabilized at least. Many of his teammates were pictured visiting him at the hospital, obviously his family as well. And people are just really hoping that he comes through and has a positive recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll be hoping for the best for him. Tomorrow on Rising, we'll be digging more into the Southwest Airlines debacle with a labor expert. You won't want to miss that.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who prefer to listen while on the go, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're also available on Roku and other streaming services.
It's good to be back, and we hope you tune in again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.